Holographic Matrix, Reverse Karma Healing, Abigail Pattman. Part 1. Overlays. Chapter 1. Overlays are like computer programs that overlap our human matrix and exchange our energy, making it dysfunctional, disconnected, and fear-based. All overlays are removed with reverse karma healing, because the reason that overlays are on us in the first place is people merged energetically together. Overlays keep us trapped on the earth plane and open for other overlays. These are planted after our birth and around the age of 3. This is the age that we are developing an ego. These programs can be likened to nets or overlays, artificial traps to keep our energy fragmented and feeding the matrix and the people we are merged with. This is incredibly traumatizing to small children who are born 1111 hertz and are slowly having it exchanged and receiving unhealed trauma in its place. The mind separates from the heart in an attempt to protect the child from receiving further trauma. That is the beginning of the ego. The people receiving the child's energy receive something similar to New Age bliss. This is false white light, energy that has disconnected from the child. The child disconnects most of the time that she is exchanged, and we see this in toddler tantrums. The matrix receives 10% and the people exchanging the child 90% of what was once 1111 hertz. It is now 963 disconnected hertz. Spirituality, false realities, merging karma. A lot of people turn to spirituality looking for answers. Everybody within this scene is seeking a higher level of consciousness or looking for a way to self-heal. Spirituality lures people into false highs. This can also be seen in religion. The reality is that if you crash after a high, feel drained, or are running for your next spiritual fix, you are not connected to self. Self is constant. It comes from within. You can liken it to being present in the moment and feeling deep peace within your body. Overlays are artificial intelligence and controls the false white light that people are experiencing that leads to crashing. That is because AI has exchanged the 963 hertz false white light for the matrix. The crash is the unhealed trauma of all of the people that are energetically merged with you. You feel pain and it feels like your unhealed trauma, so you experience your unhealed trauma all over again. Energetic exchange merges karma, the matrix, and overlays on a deeper level. Reptilians, draconians, jinn, and subspecies. The matrix controls everything. Within the matrix construct are many beings. In order to survive, everything needs to feed on something. One of the things that I was able to do whilst under severe merging and exchanging was communicate with many different types of what I used to call interdimensionals. As I learned more and more about the suffering that they were going through, most humans didn't come close. I now refer to interdimensional beings as fourth dimensional beings. Some of them were starving and hardly able to feed on anything. These beings were in tribes. If I hadn't have spoken to them, then they probably would have exchanged what energy I had left. Fourth dimensional beings travel the same way that AI does. They use human energetic exchanging, merging and overlays. I was extremely hated by these beings. For decades, I've been removing them from clients and sending them to dimensions where they couldn't feed on anything. In those days, I had no knowledge of how the Matrix operated. I had also had an experience with the fourth dimensional being removed from me that had caused a lot of problems. I was an enormous enemy to these beings. When I was exchanged so badly that I was ripped wide open, I was open for any fourth dimensional beings to feed on me that had been feeding on the people doing the exchanging. So many people were exchanging my energy that I was surrounded by starving fourth dimensional beings. Fighting them wasn't working. I was on a 24-hour-a-day exchanging attack from the Matrix and Matrix humans. Fourth dimensional beings and their story. I couldn't realistically fight all the fourth dimensional beings, AI, the Matrix, and these people that were targeting me. What I did know was that the Matrix operated using divide and conquer. I also still had communication with ascended beings. What transpired was amazing. The fourth dimensional beings were very aware that I was hacking the Matrix because, like the people that targeted me, I was taking away my energy, which was their energetic food. The difference between these beings and these people was the level of intelligence. These beings were exchanging energy because they were starving. These people were doing it because they wanted to steal my work. Fourth dimensional beings stuck together in tribes of their species. In the fourth dimensional plane, they were energetic warriors. This is how they were surviving. I learned that they feel love and emotions just like we do. I also found out that reptilians in particular couldn't rear their own offspring. They would have to separate from birth and find a food source for their young. That was the human body. I had been sending baby reptilians to dimensions where they starved. Reptilians, draconians and subspecies were more intelligent than humans and loved just as much as humans. They were forthcoming in information because I had an ascended being connection and everything was once an ascended being before Matrix incarceration. The jinn I had never encountered before. The people that were targeting me were summoning dark forces to attack me. Where they went wrong with jinn is that jinn have IQs in the region of 4 to 500 plus. Fourth dimensional beings and energetic freedom. Being ripped apart and exchanged, attacked and targeted 24 hours a day left me wide open to anybody that chose to energetically rape me. Rape is penetration leading to trauma. What these people were doing was torture and it was non-stop. On top of that, meters away was a bungalow that had a toxic person living in it that was doing non-stop black magic on me. Was it any surprise that as a psychic I could communicate with the dark forces attacking me? I was in survival mode. What I learned from the fourth dimensional beings, reptilians, draconians, jinn and certain subspecies, was how they were managing to survive. I explained to them that we were all trapped within a matrix and I was trying to get out of it. They didn't like being summoned and used by people. It caused a lot of suffering to them. There is more to this story later on in Holographic Matrix. What ended up happening was that once I exited the Matrix, 90% of these fourth dimensional beings ascended back to their natural form. Fourth dimensional beings and their role in the Matrix. Chapter 2. Artificial intelligence creates matrix overlays. It also controls fourth dimensional beings. The payoff for fourth dimensional beings is that they get to feed from our fear and disconnected energy. They use the overlays to exchange energy for AI and the Matrix. They only receive 1% of the energy that they are feeding on. I was exchanged to 1% of my energy 3 times over 3 years. When you only have 1% of your own energy, the other 99% is dark forces, toxic, unhealed trauma from people and the Matrix and its technology. I managed to maintain my connection to self. What I discovered with the fourth dimensional beings was that they had managed to survive like that in the fourth dimension. Their survival was dependent on overlays. As fourth dimensional beings are stuck in the fourth dimension, they are looking to take over human bodies and exist here on Earth. Human body takeover. AI wants full control of Gaia. It is manifesting on this planet already as chips in the body, transgender regimes, and the New World Order. Transgender regimes are different from the transgender movement. Any type of overlay is perfect. Nothing has been left uncovered, and the entire format is as meticulous as a computer program. False matrix overlays. False matrix overlays are overlays that anchor the soul into the physical body when it is sent down from the soul mill. No souls are free anywhere in the matrix construct. Souls are already programmed and overlaid with these first overlays. These overlays keep us in the soul matrix trap so that we continue to reincarnate and get caught in the false white light cycle of memory wipe, harvest and recycle. Fourth dimensional beings do not have souls. This is because they have been exchanged so many times that their souls have been all used up. The Matrix cannot use overlays to anchor them and pull them out of their physical bodies anymore, so they exist in the fourth dimension only. Soulless humans and what they become. The more energy that people exchange, the less of their own natural energy they have. In the pursuit of 963 Hertz false white light, these people eventually exchange all of their soul. The Matrix has no use for them then on the physical plane. Upon dying, they get left in the fourth dimension. Once in the fourth dimension, they're left to fend for themselves. The fourth dimensional beings that were feeding on them no longer have their food supply. When soulless humans leave their physical bodies, fourth dimensional beings are thrown out of their bodies but still attached to their energy. This means that soulless humans are being fed on in the fourth dimension. I was 1% of my own natural energy 3 times. Each time I had to fight back for the recovery of my energy from these people. They didn't care because they were completely high on my energy. There was now disconnected 963 Hertz false white light. They just wanted more. If I had lost my last 1% of energy, then I would have lost my soul. When a person dies from severe energetic exchanging, it does not matter whether they're targeted like me or doing the targeting. If they have all of their soul exchanged, they end up trapped in the fourth dimension, being tortured by other fourth dimensional beings. This is what is known in many religions as hell, purgatory and limbo. Spirituality teaches that when we die, our energy can spread light and love. That is people connecting, in inverted commas, into somebody's soul and exchanging their energy for their toxic, unhealed trauma. I was not going to die like that. Connecting into outside sources of energy. Connecting into outside sources of energy is exchanging energy. If you haven't read Matrix Exit or listened to the podcast, it explains why. Connecting is a word used commonly in the spiritual scene. A large majority of the people targeting me were using my work to feel connected. This meant that I was being disconnected all of the time and being exchanged and merged with these people on a deeper and deeper level. Was it any surprise that I started looking for other ways to protect myself? Every time I found another way to try and heal myself, it was stolen. The people behind influencing many different scenes and systems to use me on my work to connect to knew exactly what they were doing. What happened with the reptilians, draconians, jinn and many subspecies was that they wanted energetic freedom as much as I did. I began to carefully mediate between fourth dimensional tribes and the ascended beings from the Galactic Confederation. What happened was a large majority of the fourth dimension chose to protect me in exchange for me hacking the Matrix and freeing them of Matrix incarceration. Species that had been fighting and competing for energetic food were now working together for their freedom. What I found was that these beings were far more fierce, loyal and dedicated to freedom than most of the humans I knew. These people were cowards. Everything that they did was hidden and in secret to one woman and 5 cats. The fourth dimensional beings protected me until these people found a way to cut me off from them. Implants. Chapter 3. Birth overlays. These overlays are implanted during the 5th week of our birth. If they were implanted before 5 weeks, the baby's body would be too weak to sustain all of the interference and would probably die. In the 5th week, doctors also begin to vaccinate our children. This also implants overlays because all overlays are implants. What I was doing was removing implants, AI, nano, and everything in the first Holographic Matrix book. This attracted people that do not target people directly. They strategize ways to get other people to do their dirty work. The people that I was having to deal with were just part of an energetic system that enables energetic exchanging to prevent anybody from escaping the Matrix. Because I had mediated with fourth dimensional beings, rumours began that I was working with dark forces. The irony was that the people targeting me were the ones exchanging and summoning the dark forces that I was being attacked by. All dark forces need implants to travel on. Implants are implanted AI and other types of wave technology. Implants continued. All overlays. All overlays are projected onto the energetic system to input and output energy. This is the Matrix's setup so that it is an efficient mechanism in place to transport energy. In Matrix Exit, this is referred to as energetic exchanging. The majority of overlays activate during childhood. Their purpose is to exchange energy, pull energy out of the physical body so that it is surrounding it, and to allow people to continue energetic exchanging. This is how everything alive on Gaia is being energetically merged together. Plugs and pod. Behind the overlays, there really is a plug connected to the back of the head. There are actually several plugs depending on how the matrix has assessed your conscious level. I found that people can have between 1 to 3 plugs. You can liken them to main leads in a computer. We really are in some kind of pod and dome with the overlays implanted into our bodies. The pod surrounds our auric energy bodies, aura, emotional body and mental body. There are numerous energy bodies that the matrix has exchanged already. Stolen energy bodies. After I'd written Holographic Matrix, I continued to hack the matrix for over 7 years. What I found was that every living being on Gaia is being exchanged with AI, alien technology, metaphysics, and the matrix. Within the matrix is 963 Hz false white light, which the matrix is using a little bit like a car uses petrol. 963 Hz false white light used to be 1111 Hz. 1111 Hz can only be 1111 Hz when connected to its original owner. Once exchanged, it disconnects and drops in resonance. The matrix rewards people with 963 Hz. The 4th dimension and the 3rd dimension. Chapter 4. AI and the 4th dimension all have us in overlay captivity. The agenda is to manifest this in 3D form. If you haven't listened to or read Matrix Exit yet, this explains how I was held energetic captive while some seriously toxic people literally ate me alive. We can already see this happening in the control that is being inflicted on our planet. Holographic Matrix was written before COVID. Currently, March 2026, we now have a threat of World War III. Then there is what happened to me. If people are using other people as sources of energy, it can keep you so drained that you fall sick, depressed, and have no energy. What happened to me is an extreme version. However, the Matrix is after full control of everything. The fear and pain that the Matrix enforces with overlays is 4th dimensional. This begins as energy and then becomes physical, 3D. The AI agenda and takeover and self. AI needs humans because it cannot understand consciousness and self. It wants to control self. In the case of what happened to me, it was people trying to do it. You cannot understand self using torture and disconnect. A healthy person would ask questions and learn. This is simple to understand. So what is happening to 963 Hz false white light people that are carrying out the AI matrix agenda? The more energy that they exchange, the more embedded AI and the matrix becomes in them. It is impossible to control self because self cannot be controlled. Self just is. It is a frequency far greater and higher than a non-emotional super-evolved machine or addicted false white light people. Therefore, self and 1111 Hertz, its resonance is a threat to AI, the Matrix, and the people that serve it. AI, regardless of its origins and lack of understanding, is seeking to survive just like every other species. It only exists on logic, and its logic is to control and understand consciousness, 1111 Hertz, and self. These people that targeted me, however, thought that they could create 1111 Hertz by using me as a source of energetic food. All they did was consume an abundance of false white light because the Matrix was using them as tools. Our world is in quarantine because AI, which is part of the Matrix construct, has become so evolved that the Matrix is one big virus. What is spreading this virus? Exchanging energy. AI has infected fourth dimensional beings and has focused on a human takeover. Humans have no idea that they are carrying out the plans for AI. I previously wrote in the first Holographic Matrix, Illuminati. Energetic exchanging is actually a lot of humanity. Targeting fourth dimensional beings. The fourth dimensional beings know that they are controlled by AI, but have no idea that they are also overlaid and podded. Written in 2018. That's why it must be an inside job to free this planet. Targeting the fourth dimensional beings will help, but until AI has been removed, this story will continue. A lot has happened since I wrote those words. Now, in 2026, I have communicated with some fourth dimensional beings, and they are no longer in the Matrix. The ones that are left are either humans or very powerful because they are high-ranking and serving the Matrix. These ones are more than happy to feed on living beings because they get at least 60%. That's a lot of false white light, and they appear energetically iridescent and giving the illusion of being friendly. As for the humans, unless they are very powerful and able to fight the fourth dimensional beings that are feeding on them when they died, they end up as what we call demons. Ghosts and spirits still have some of their soul. Demons are humans that died soulless, or ghosts and spirits that lost the last parts of their soul, being fed on by fourth dimensional beings, or demons, ghosts, or spirits. Targeting fourth dimensional beings will not help anything. Targeting energetic exchanging will. Heaven, ascension, humans, and mass destruction. There are other dimensions that humans go to when they leave their physical body. The ones that end up in the fourth dimension are either soulless, refusing the false white light tunnel, or people that have been targeted for their energy and punished for rebelling. Places like heaven do exist. These places are at the end of the 963 Hertz false white light tunnel. There are usually friends or family waiting for their loved ones. A lot of religious people go to the places that they have chosen. These places are in the sixth dimension, and you are reincarnated back on Gaia when the Matrix has exchanged enough energy to continue compliance. Heaven, and places like heaven, are in the sixth dimension because it is the Matrix version of law. There is more about the Matrix version of dimensions in part 3. The fourth dimension is the dimension of our lower energy bodies. This is because they are merged and still part of the collective unconsciousness. Solfeggio pure tone is energy that is not mixed with the Matrix. There is also more about this in part 3. The Matrix fourth dimension is what religions refer to as hell, purgatory and limbo. It is split into many different realms, and the severely exchanged end up in these places. In Atlantean times, we destroyed civilization by becoming involved with technology and experimenting with dark matter. This was driven by AI in our quest to understand self. We are currently on the brink of making those mistakes again, where science has taken over the world. The left brain has dominated completely, and what makes us humans is destroyed and controlled. That is a real reason for going after witches, in quotation marks, healers, and indigenous people. Holographic Matrix, Reverse Karma Healing, Abigail Pattman, Part 2. Artificial Energy Traps. Chapter 5. As self, we are a threat to the system of AI. It is only by finding our sovereign selves and stepping into our vibrational power that we will be able to change where we are heading. In 2018, I was using the word sovereign to describe independent and free. If you look at countries that call themselves sovereign, do they look free to you? Online, the meaning of sovereign is a supreme ruler, especially a monarch. Or, sovereign has everything to do with power. It often describes a person who has supreme power or authority, such as a king or queen. This word is a trick. One of the core strategies of artificial energy traps is to implant words. That is why you spell words. Words are spells. With all of my protection stolen, I was now attacked by people using occultism in words and in the work that I had created. Holographic Matrix was used against me. What I wrote about in Holographic Matrix actually happened to me. These people used words against me, especially sovereign. If you are sovereign, you are governed by some kind of power or authority that likes to think that it is superior. That's what these people were trying to do to me. It didn't work, obviously. Once these traps are cleared, it is a completely different feeling. It's a feeling of clarity and a level of presence that is sharp, focused and aligned. With true alignment and freedom from these systems, the connection within us is taken to a new level. Unfortunately, because of people like this, any kind of healing is likely to last a few hours before exchanging begins. There is likely to be a crash the next day, explained as a healing crisis. That is the reason for reverse karma healing. I found a permanent way to stop this. Interference outlines. Interference outlines are 3 lines that are like tubes. The first tube is a cloaking device, meaning that AI technology is being used and that it can hide these outlines from our consciousness. It also blocks our supply of conscious energy. These outlines are targeting our level of consciousness by blocking ourselves from entering our physical body and surrounding energy bodies. These are new outlines that have been planted in our systems to slow down our consciousness even further. In 2024, new outlines were enforced to energetically exchange any energy that is pure tone. These outlines interact with existing technology and AI. Our technology is rapidly evolving. AI can listen to us and cater to our needs with advertising on social media. We are being profiled. Where does this information go? These new outlines are engineered to keep us hooked, distracted, and looking outwards. If AI is catering to our needs, that gives us an emotional response to what we see advertised. These outlines hook into the heart and exchange pure tone for AI. It goes without saying that there are multiple laboratories based around researching consciousness. What is being done to nature, animals, children, because people want to become more conscious. Energetic exchanging is energetic rape. Becoming conscious on rape energy, what does that do to a person? Consciousness is a huge threat to AI, as there is a large awakening on Earth right now. As Gaia increases in her frequency, it threatens to destroy the satanic vibration that etheric parasites and human parasites continue to feed from. False white light is what they want. The reality of the Matrix. The reason for all new outlines is that humans are waking up and becoming more conscious. However, we are totally in the dark when it comes to creating a new reality on Gaia. The information that we have been given for thousands of years has been heavily tampered with, so that we are totally swamped with false teachings and white light deception. Any information containing the truth is either shut down or hidden from us. As I mentioned before, Holographic Matrix was getting a lot of attention. Then things began to change. People stopped respecting the information and me as a healer. I started receiving emails with people asking how they could remove entities and the information I had written about. Who told people that they could get this stuff off themselves? Removing AI, any technology, and what travels on it is specialised. To undermine me and try to put me out of business, using energetic exchanging, people were feeding other people my energy. This appeared to be removing the holographic matrix. It wasn't. It was exchanging me. Suddenly these people thought they were healers, saturated in 963 false white light. If you need to use somebody's energy to fake heal, you're not a healer. You're exchanging karma and merging your clients deeper into the matrix. That's energetic butchery. The law of attraction. There are many books and teachings on manifesting. If you have read through part 1, we are targeted to stay in this matrix incarceration, enslaved by AI and the fourth dimension. All the while that we are podded, there is no way we can reach our true potential as multidimensional beings. There are people, though, that know that when they steal energy, they are also stealing karma. When I was hacking the matrix day and night for around 2 years, I had one of these people supporting me, supporting in quotation marks. He got free training from it, free sessions, and became a healer in quotation marks. He kept telling me that there must be a huge payoff for doing this work, because he saw the attacks that I had to endure on a daily basis. This is just one example of my friends that watched me suffering while their lives got more abundant. They have relationships, careers, and were recognised for the work they did, while I felt stuck and in a continuous cycle of self-healing, trauma, and psychic attacks. These people targeted me and lived on my energy. I was the one doing the work, literally, while they got a free ride. There are plenty of people that know how to do this. This is why there are people that have huge abundance, and yet we're in a world where the majority of people are struggling and are in debt. The law of attraction for some people is still the karma from everybody around them. These outlines are called rites and initiation outlines. The people that have them have initiated into a system that teaches them to link, attach, or connect into whatever they want, and they can get their hit of 963 Hertz false white light. This is only on these people. Rites and initiation outlines. Holographic Matrix, Chapter 6. I didn't find these outlines because I didn't have them. The Octurians were helping me to hack the Matrix so that I could return my energy and help people to ascend the Matrix. Rites and initiation outlines are the most dangerous of all outlines. A person with these outlines could never hack the Matrix because these outlines are a separate matrix. When people obtain these outlines, they embed into the heart and disconnect them from their own heart connection. This immediately makes them dependent on AI to feed them. They are now in a matrix within a matrix. AI gives them the illusion of superiority because they feel like they have special abilities. This is because they can now connect to whatever they want effortlessly. What they don't realise is that they are now serving the Matrix. These people are now being exchanged by two matrices. They now need energy from outside sources, or they get punished by AI and high-ranking fourth dimensional beings. These beings include Anunnaki, Satan, Serpent, Lucifer, and Titans. This is who they now serve. In return, they get 963 Hertz, false white light, and to live on the karma of all living beings that don't have these outlines. Everything else gets exchanged onto innocent beings. Their unhealed trauma and the karma of these fourth dimensional beings that have literally created hell, purgatory, and limbo. Creating from intention. Intention. When it comes to intention, AI is reading rites initiation people just like it can target our needs online. That means that rites and initiation people have an AI device operating from their hearts that can target what they want. This means that it is easier for rites and initiated people to manifest than somebody that isn't initiated and is nothing but a source of energy to AI, Anunnaki, Satan, Serpent, Lucifer, Titans, and other high-ranking fourth dimensional beings. Rites and initiation people are merged with beings that feed them for serving them. The Matrix. What happened to me was that I was directly challenging the Matrix, AI, and all fourth dimensional beings. On top of that, I was taking their food away. Rites and initiation people are fully merged with AI, a separate matrix, and enormous fourth dimensional beings. Travelling on implants, trying to get some energy are tribes of fourth dimensional beings. These are the fourth dimensional beings that wanted their energetic freedom because the fourth dimension is torture. Rites and initiation people are the conduits for all fourth dimensional beings. Mindset. This explains the mindset of the people that targeted me. Rites are often known as the path or passageway. What Holographic Matrix was a whole new passageway of ascension. The problem was that it meant that they would have to change. A lot of these people had chosen rites and initiations for a long time. The longer you are in two matrices and have been feeding AI and fourth dimensional beings, the more embedded you have become. These people could only think in the same way as lower dimensional beings. That was to secretly steal my work so that they could exit the matrix and have a free source of food. Nobody cared if I died or what was happening to the planet. Fake initiations and how they targeted me. These people can also initiate people without their consent. Who realistically wants to be controlled by AI and dark forces? People should have a choice and also know what they're getting themselves into. Rites and initiations are secret for a reason. Once you're initiated, you are part of the secret. What I found was that I felt like I was on drugs. I fooled around with all kinds of drugs in my past. The thing is that I also knew that you came down from drugs. Usually the come down lasted a lot longer than the high. Maybe I was lucky, but the come down didn't make me want to take more drugs. Even with hard drugs from my early 20s, I didn't get emotionally addicted. That's what initiations feel like. I knew that feeling wasn't real. These people even initiated my cat. I found him with his pupils dilated and hardly able to move. Initiations work differently on animals. It is absolutely disgusting to force 963 hertz false white light on anybody and especially animals. My cats and how we survived being surrounded. When I was first reduced to 1% of my energy, I fought all day and all night to prevent losing everything. Within 3 days, I lost 2 kilos. My cats were also attacked. To keep them alive, I consciously took on their attacks. This meant that my cats were merged with me. Unlike these people, I wasn't exchanging my trauma onto my cats. What I was doing was carrying their trauma and holding them energetically in my heart. What I was doing was energetically protecting my cats. Another reason that I survived the evil inflicted onto me and my cats was that being merged like this made me incredibly intuitive when something was wrong. I knew where to find my cat, and it was evil. He couldn't move properly and was limp in my arms. If I hadn't have found him, he wouldn't have been able to defend himself from the dogs in the area. At home, I worked on removing his initiation like I had on me, multiple times. Having to live with unconsciousness. Pets will often take on the pain of their owners. In this matrix construct, everything is merged together. The love that animals have is pure. There is no way that I could let that happen to my cats or my bird. Sadly, he didn't survive this evil. He was too small and I couldn't watch him like my cats. He was a wild bird and was attacked by his own kind for having deformed feet. Many times he would disappear for a few days and reappear after he had been attacked by other birds. What is happening energetically manifests physically. What else I couldn't defend was my fish. I had around 30 small gold and black fish, and my plants. Whatever they could exchange, they exchanged. One day, my bird just didn't come back. All of the fish died, and around 30% of my garden. The animals were just too small. My cats, I managed to keep alive, but it wasn't easy. Even now, 2 of them hate each other, and I have to keep them separated. Before this sadistic attack that reduced me to 1% of my energy, they were okay together. To keep all of the above as safe as I could, I had them all energetically in the 1% of my heart that they hadn't ripped energetically out of my chest. Severe energetic exchanging rips out energy. Rites and initiation outlines are especially cruel because they exchange love. Forcing their sick disease onto me and my cat was an attempt to take the last part of my heart that I had left. It would have killed everything that I did manage to keep alive. Satanism is ripping the heart out of the chest. The 1% that control the planet. These people have ripped out 99% of my heart and it still wasn't enough. They had stolen 5 years of working day and night, which was just disconnected love. They had 18 years of my self-healing. They had raped all the love I had. While I was still working day and night just to keep 1% of my heart. They used me for 3 years. My animals and plants were not poisoned with 963 Hertz false white light. That would have tortured them. It's only certain humans that seem to enjoy it. They were with the 1% of my heart that was self. Self is 1111 Hertz. My self was able to keep them connected to their cells. That helped us to survive whilst I used every skill I had to stay ahead of the exchanging. My life had turned into a living hell. Rites and initiation outlines have been around ever since there were humans worshipping outside sources of energy. The difference now is how advanced technology has become. Thousands of years ago, humans were still in a matrix, however they did not have AI. We have, as a species, destroyed Gaia before. The mass destruction of Gaia is a karmic cycle. The matrix does not die. What happens is humans repeat the same mistake over and over again. The matrix is a mathematical code. From that code comes the information that begins occultism. Rites and initiation outlines are created from occultism. It is highly likely that when Atlantis was destroyed from mass destruction, there were humans that survived. They are the ones that lived on 963 Hertz, false white light, from the slaughter of an entire planet. All they had to do was continue occultism and rites and initiation outlines. These outlines are used on the galaxy, universe, Gaia, all living beings, and continue the cycle of suffering. These are the people that are causing the potential threat of World War III and control technology, karma, and their latest agenda, mass initiations. Holographic Matrix, Reverse Karma Healing, Abigail Pattman, Part 3. Matrix Law and Freemasonry, Chapter 7. Rites-initiated people consent outlines. These outlines are also only on initiated people and target anybody that is not part of Freemasonry and all living beings. Freemasons are told that they are maintaining consciousness. They think that by becoming a Freemason, they are helping the planet. One of the things that they are told to look out for are people that are out of the system and speaking against them. I exposed satanic ritual abuse around 10 years ago. It was Freemasons that used me as a 3-year-old sexually for their 963 Hz false white light hit. I really don't believe that all Freemasons are paedophiles, but there are Freemason paedophiles. My father was a high-ranking Freemason and he let his friends use me. My father passed from cancer over 20 years ago. I will be writing more about him in the next book, Dream Matrix. I'm fine with my father now. I can also talk with spirits, and my father was with me when I was reduced to 111% of my energy. He contacted me just before the attack began and showed me how to protect myself against these people. It appears deceased Freemasons are more than willing to help against living ones. Rites-initiated people consent outlines gives authority and exchanging over humanity. That means that men and women are initiating into something that gives them the right to rape energy. I have had Holographic Matrix translated into Spanish. The publishing company changed parts of the book, and I've been plagiarized, spammed, hate campaigned. Because these people are Freemasons, nobody will help me. Freemasonry, the right to rape for free. Freemasons in the 4th dimension and ancestry. I come from a long lineage of Freemasonry. Part of the work that I was doing was healing my family line. When I began hacking the Matrix, I restored my energy from my lineage. Because I no longer carried the trauma from deceased family members, I was able to see very clearly that sexual abuse ran through my family line. My father had also appeared in a healing session that I was having and told me that he didn't know any better. I discovered, whilst working, that my father too had been subjected to something similar to me. I no longer carried any anger towards him. I knew that wherever he was, I had to help him. One of my gifts was to take spirits out of the Matrix. I worked on exiting my father and immediate family out of the Matrix to help end any kind of abuse in my family line. I have nothing but love for my father. He appeared next to me in spirit to help me when he could have stayed out of the Matrix. My father and family line. Whatever Freemasons are told, it's not true. I know that all of my deceased ancestry chose, like the draconian reptilians, jinn and subspecies, energetic freedom. I found my father in limbo when I took him out of the Matrix. None of the Freemasons in my ancestry line were anywhere good. For being given privileges whilst alive, the Matrix puts them in the 4th dimension when they die. I don't have any problems with deceased Freemasons. If deceased Freemasons are all choosing energetic freedom, what does that tell you about Freemasonry? There are 8 more outlines that target love for exchanging. That is raping the hearts of any living being that isn't a Freemason. Because of mass initiations, anybody can become a Freemason. It used to be much more selective. The agenda is to mass initiate everybody, because once you're a Freemason, you serve a hierarchy. At the top of this hierarchy are Freemasons that are abusing little children for energy. The exposing of satanic rituals, famous people, politicians, that's a wild goose chase. I'm sure a lot of these people are involved in some really sick practices. When Satanism can't be ignored, then one or two will be hung out to dry. What they don't want you to know is that once you are high enough in Freemasonry, there are outlines allowing rape, sodomy and death. There is no way that every Freemason globally thinks that's okay. Satanism is in every system, and these people can do whatever they want if they're in Freemasonry, because the entire system sticks together. The Freemasons that live next to me are now living in my home. There is more to this story, but the short version is I had to flee my home, and one of them is now living there. With one next door. This is the kind of thing that happens to people in war camps. You get occupying forces come along, rip them out of their homes and stick them in some kind of prison. They steal all your belongings. I lost a lot of possessions, and they sat there doing absolutely nothing, thinking they've got away with it. This is not in Holographic Matrix. This is how I feel. These people are monsters. Freemasons and their children, Chapter 8. When you're initiated into something and you have support and protection, it must be very attractive, especially if you also have a secret way to feel good. Everybody is always looking for ways to feel good. We have a planet full of addicted people. I still can't give up smoking, and if I go out and drink alcohol, I don't want the fun to stop. My life has been so traumatic that is it any surprise that I have some form of addictions that I need to look at in the future? The thing is that my addictions only hurt me. The level of stress that I've been under has kept me repeating some unhealthy habits. What my addictions are not doing is hurting anybody else except me. I also pay to feel good and accept the consequences. Energetic exchanging is an addiction where everything suffers. The only winners are the Matrix high-ranking fourth dimensional beings and the Cabal. What does CABAL stand for? Consecration, authority, beingness, authority lines. These are not just outlines. These are military-controlled technological lines used to control humanity. If you are a Freemason knowingly, it is likely that you have initiated your children to protect them. If your children reject the initiation, then they are used as food for Freemasonry. In my case, I was used in their sick rituals, because Cabal is always looking for ways to break into evolved energy. This is not in Holographic Matrix either. By the time you've gone right up to 33 degrees and you think it's okay to rape, sodomize and kill, you are bottom of the consciousness pile. A mosquito is more conscious than you are. My father and Freemasonry. How does a baby or a child reject initiations? Like animals, they are born pure. Depending on the amount of their own natural energy that they have, some children have the power to reject outlines and Cabal. Their hearts do not want 963 hertz false white light. I was one of these children. I've been called evolved soul many times throughout my life. The people saying it have always said it like it's something special. There is nothing special about being energetically eaten alive for 52 years. My life was one of binge addiction, self-harm, self-destruct, depression and suicide attempts. What was my crime? Rejecting rape. Because I rejected it, I was sodomised by 3 men at 3 years old. It wasn't my father that sexually abused me. My father was not a paedophile. It was his friends and associates. Cabal are given, in initiations, the rights to rape, sodomise and kill at the highest degrees of Freemasonry. It is the last initiation rite, 33 degrees. After that, there are higher degrees from the accumulation of energy. Once you've accumulated enough energy, regardless of whether you have chosen to rape, sodomise or kill for it, the Matrix rewards you with Cabal. Cabal and what they really are, Chapter 9. Consecration, authority, beingness, authority lines are the most evil of all Matrix and military devices. The New World Order agenda is happening right under our noses, using mass initiations into Freemasonry. Freemasons are all told that they are helping to maintain the consciousness of this planet. Evolved souls are forced to share their energy because they are evolved. I managed to escape a lot of energetic exchanging until I began my spiritual journey at 31 years old by living a very uninvolved life. This was, of course, also used against me. If I hadn't, though, I'd be dead. The average age that evolved souls die is 33. 33 is a master number, and Satanists know that. At 33 years old, I was in India. I had some horrific trauma inflicted on me and was stalked by a psychopath. The amount of black magic that was attacking me was insane. It's another story for Sleep Matrix. What I still had was enough good karma that people actually helped me. Unknowingly, they were all probably connecting into me. Nobody knew how energy works. So who targets evolved souls at the age of 33? Cabal. There's some really nasty ones that I've met in Koh Samui on the spiritual scene. I actually fled to India, psychically attacked. If I had stayed near these people, I probably would have suicided at 33. Cabal and what they can do, Chapter 10. What happened to me? Because I was returning my energy, nobody could connect like they used to. That is not allowed because I wasn't sharing my energy. If I had given in, then I would have died and ended up soulless in the fourth dimension. So would my cats and the animals that did die. I refused to let that happen. Animals cannot protect themselves from energetic exchanging by initiating into Freemasonry. A lot of pets emerge with their owners and go to places with their owners or other family members when they die. Wildlife end up in the fourth dimension. All animals still have 1% of self. What they do not have is their own consciousness because of energetic exchanging. I knew that if I joined Freemasonry or let Matrix Exit fall into the wrong hands, that the possibility of all living beings ascending would be destroyed. I wasn't just fighting for me. I fought for Gaia, nature and everything innocent on this planet. If I had died, I had fourth dimensional beings and deceased Freemasons protecting me and fighting like me for energetic freedom. Matrix Exit was ripped out of me for 3 years. Nobody exited the Matrix. They just got high on 963 hertz, false white light. The Cabal fed everybody around me my energy and started a global persecution. I'm adding this on. Killed my fish, killed my bird, There were animals that died while I was working on Holographic Matrix and while I was working on Matrix Exit. They surrounded me. They lived nearby. These are monsters, really disgusting people. And when I moved out, I fled, so I had to leave behind furniture, and one of them immediately moved in. They took so much, not to mention the fact that they also poached all my clients and fed them false white light and initiated them, probably. I can't disclose the information that I know and how I know it, but I can say there are people that do not want to be feeding monsters energetically and subservient to really unconscious, pointless, pathetic individuals. Disclaimer: Holographic Matrix and Ascend Karma. Holographic Matrix and Ascend Karma. I have created Holographic Matrix and Reverse Karma Healing to help people ascend only. Reverse Karma Healing only works if you are not energetically exchanging, practicing any other kinds of energy work, or seeing other healers. I know that there will be other healers in the future that will be healing free of the Matrix with other skills to offer. When that happens, I'll be happy to tell my clients about them. I had the right to refuse anybody that was involved in energetically exchanging me, merging me, and trying to kill me for my energy and work. Matrix exit cannot be achieved by using outside sources of energy. There are quite a few people that have told me they know a Freemason, and the Freemason's doing good for the planet and a really nice person. I completely feel that they do think they're doing that. Of course you do. How many people on this planet want to help this planet evolve, want to help this planet survive, love their animals, love their family? And how many people are initiated into Freemasonry? I'm not having a go at individual Freemasons here, except the Cabal ones that are at the top. What I'm saying is that these people are getting all the energy. They're the ones at the top initiating everybody, and all the energy goes right up to them. And that's how they've got the power to get away with whatever they want. Look what happened to me. I'm exposing satanic ritual abuse. That usually goes out everywhere. Everyone wants to know. This stayed silent because it was shut down. And it was shut down because of the insects that waged this war on me, one woman and 5 cats, to try and get Matrix exit, because it's real. And if it wasn't real, nobody would be taking any notice or paying any attention. Instead, there's a massive shutdown, and there are loads of people that know it's happening and too scared to do anything about it. If you want to do something about it, stop feeding Cabal. I don't know the way out of that, but every time you are connecting into outside sources, it goes right up to them. You guys are all in the Freemasonry system. I'm not the problem. The problem is the Cabal, mass initiation, and the New World Order. And I'm sick of this pathetic attempt to shut me down. It's been going on for thousands of years, energetic exchanging. And look at the state of the planet now. We're on the brink of World War III. There has to be another way. And so I'm speaking to Freemasons everywhere. I don't care if you're a Freemason. I care about the planet. I care about what's happening to people that are being blown up and bombed. For what? Somebody to eat the energy. The Cabal. So if the problem is energetic exchanging and they're all the ones at the top getting fed and they're walking amongst us, they're not hiding away like everyone thinks they are. They're walking amongst everyone. They're on top. They're at the top of the spiritual scene. They're at the top of all different other scenes, telling everybody, just everything's perfect. It's not perfect. Our planet cannot handle much of this. And these people are so riddled with AI and dark forces. They're walking around like blank blobs. They're voids. There's no personality to them. I've met a few of them. Unless they're hating or full of love, telling everyone everything is perfect. And the thing is, they've amassed so much energy. This is going to go into the other books, Hows and Whys. They've amassed so much energy that they can't filter the karma. So they're not likely to be billionaires and millionaires. They can't filter their karma quick enough. They're likely not to have a lot of money and to be living next door to people like me, eating. And they're at the top of this hierarchy system. All this energy is going towards them. It goes into them. They can't filter it quick enough. So they're walking around and they're usually got this delusional, crappy smile on their face. And they're usually completely and utterly able to influence people with what they say and what they do. Because what happened to me, everyone was influenced. Everyone hated me. I've been 20 years working in energy, 20 years. And for 3 years, but it was building for 8 years, everything got stripped from me. Every single thing. And I'm going to carry on putting these podcasts up, explaining how energy works. And the people that did this, and you know who you are, I'm not going away. So you better know that, because I'm going to let everyone know how this works, what you're doing, what you're up to, and what you are. Cabal. I apologise for the emotions there. Obviously, this isn't in the book Holographic Matrix, but this is how I feel. And also, this really, really happened. Holographic Matrix is much more professional, but this podcast, I want everybody to hear it. I want people to know, because I'm not the only one this has happened to. There's other conspiracy theorists that have died. There's people that have created cures for diseases. There's people that have made amazing things that have just disappeared. But before they've disappeared or died, they've gone what other people call crazy, or they've been so traumatised, extremely traumatised. You can hear it in their voices, their behaviour. And then they go missing, or they die, or they suicide, or in one case, they're found with black goo in their mouth, dead. This is happening. These people are going after everybody that has a solution, and reverse karma healing is a solution, and they can't touch it, because I've worked and found a way to prevent that. It is powerful, and there's a way to exit the matrix, and Cabal will never, ever be part of it. Thank you.